Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Float game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop!
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday, post-Super Bowl Monday. Hope everyone is doing well on this February day. Super Bowl was kind of a super bust, but we'll talk about that. Greg Rakestraw will join us later, and Don Fischer here in this hour as well. Looking forward to talking to Don. Indiana loses over the weekend to Michigan, and not, a terribly surprising loss. This is a good Michigan team. Unfortunately, it was, I think, the seventh loss in 8 games for the Hoosiers. A lot of those coming against the upper echelon of the Big Ten, and that will continue as they'll travel to Michigan State and then welcome in UCLA next Saturday. So lots going on there, in addition to the fact that the announcement came Friday after we were off the air, of course, late in the day, that Mike Woodson was announcing his retirement. And there's no point in lying. He's not announcing jack. It was announced for him, obviously, but it's none of this is going to go like it should, unfortunately. But I think a part of that is I truly believe that Mike Woodson was shocked when he heard he was retiring. Not at that moment per se, because the conversations had been happening. What I mean is I think that he thought that he was coming back next year without question. I think that's part of the problem, because there's an obliviousness to what is going on. But it is what it is, and it's sad that it has to be that way. It's sad that someone who is so tied to the program is so oblivious and would stand in the way. But we'll talk about that as well. Don Fischer will join us. Duke's 16-game winning streak halted in a loss to Clemson. Tom Izzo ties Bob Knight as the Big Ten's winningest coach. And ironically enough, could pass him against Indiana. Is that right? Because I think that's who they play next. Let's see. At the end of the Michigan game for Indiana, you had a 3-point long shot that went in, but it was too little too late. Anthony Leal hit another long bomb, as he has done a couple of times this year. Got it closer, just not close enough. Indiana tried. I have to give the crowd, everybody that was in attendance that day, the students, the fans, they were in that game. And it was very respectful. So I want to mention that as well. The boos were minimal. At the beginning of the game, Dusty May received a very nice round of applause, but it was also not bad on the other side, which was good. I was a little worried about that. It would be a bad look for the Hoosiers, but it is what it is. Michigan needed that win because they need to stay at the top of the Big Ten standings, man, or up there, not in first place, but they're like a half game out. And that's their goal, to keep winning. to stay up there. And they're doing a pretty good job of it thus far. Right now, as I said, they are I believe a half game out of Purdue, along with Michigan State. Both of those teams, Purdue 11-2 on the season. Michigan State, Michigan 10-2 each. They play each other twice coming up. I've mentioned that. So they're going to make that deal there. But then Purdue has to play, I think, both of them. So then you've got UCLA sitting in fourth, who will come to Bloomington next Saturday. So again, Indiana playing every team at the top of the ledger right now. And not going well for the Hoosiers, as Mike Woodson's tenure is coming to an end at the end of this season, which is not anything shocking to me. It's what I expected to happen all along. You know, how it was going to happen, that's a different story. You never know how those things are going to play out. But it's you hate talking about that stuff because this team, I wonder how that team is going to continue to play, because they've had so many hard games here of late that they've been close on, but can't seal the deal. They lose another close game to this one to Michigan. They lost a close game to Maryland, a close game to Purdue. They got waxed at Wisconsin. What's it going to be like when they go up to East Lansing? How do you keep the mentality of this team up? Because you ask anything of Mike Woodson, quite frankly, and you get I wish I knew. Excuse me. A little frog in my throat. But that's also not something you want to hear. I was in Dusty May's post-game press conference, and besides the Indiana coaching position questions, which we'll get to, as a matter of fact, I'll actually play those here in a bit. But when he was asked questions about the game, his first response was, well, we knew we had to come in here and do this and this and that. And we had to win, 22% of this and that. And he gives you solid answers, solid game strategy planning answers that directly interact with what happened. Whereas, and again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it just further solidifies why this change is being made. Again, you ask Mike Woodson a question, and I wish I knew. Well, the fact that you don't know is just, it's incomprehensible, to be honest with you. The fact that you would continue to say that is incomprehensible, really. When you're being paid the money that you're being paid, it's incomprehensible that you don't know. And if you don't, that you don't at least care enough to pretend that you do. So there's that. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Hey, well, the thing is, I want to tell people is, the fans, you know what you have. You know what it is. Stop. There's no point in beating on this dead horse the rest of the season. There are no expectations. You should have, your expectations should be so low right now that any win would be phenomenal. That anything positive is phenomenal. Anything else, expected. Just ride it out. I've seen a lot of people talking about, we haven't talked about names. We'll do that at some point in the show. Don't worry. The biggest name, without question, is Dusty May. And he was a very, he handled in the post game He did about as good a job of handling those questions as you could handle them when they're coming at you, like those questions were in the post-game press conference. And here's Dusty gives an opening statement first. And again, I like just listening to him talk. And then the very first question was from a Michigan reporter, no less, not someone from Indiana.
33+%.
Whoops.
Shots back, offensive rebounding wise, to 22% of those was, we're not winning this game if we can't control the glass like we were able to tonight. And it really started at the last possession against Oregon. We've been very, I don't want to say lax on our blackouts and our physicality when shots went up. In the last possession, our guys showed that we could be the hammer when we chose to. And I thought for the most part tonight, even the ones they got, it was because the ball bounced a certain way or because they had a numbers advantage. I thought our guys played with great physicality and determination to rebound the ball, and to go 0 for 9 from 3 in the second half and still find a way is a testament of a team that just has belief that they're gonna figure it out.
Coach Andrew, Dusty, many of these Indiana fans have made it clear they like you maybe as their next head coach. Would you have any interest?
I mean, first of all, it's flattering when you have the path that I had, and I'm still on that same path. It's it makes you feel good because what's your competitive advantage as a student manager that transferred in as a marginal Division II player, and you just think back and it's like, man, you really, all I did was show up with great energy and passion for this game and helping people every day, and because of that, I think people always saw something or believed in me, and then you get to this point. But that stuff's crazy. I mean, I love being at Michigan. I love our team. We're fighting like crazy. That's it. I mean, this place is my foundation, but I'm very, very happy at the University of Michigan. Cameron?
A lot of words, but guess what? One word was not said. The word no. The word no was never said. He did a masterful job of not answering the question, to be honest with you. But you can't, there's nothing you can do in that situation. He did as good a job as possible without saying no, because he's going to look at it. Number one. Number two, at the very least, it's going to get him a hell of a pay raise at Michigan. So it's going to be very beneficial for Dusty one way or another, but he absolutely did not close the door at all. He didn't even come close. He didn't even touch the door handle with that answer. He just, which is great for Indiana fans, I think. I think it might be their best option that they're going to have a legitimate shot at, because there's a lot of names floating out there. We'll talk about those, but you also have to realize, like, I think I looked up TJ Otzenberger's buyout. I think his is at like $18 million, because it's equal to whatever his contract is. A lot of guys are not viable for this job. You can go to the Hoosier.com and see the latest coach's hot board. And for those of you following us on YouTube, make sure you hit I'm not even going to tell you to hit the subscribe anymore. Just hit the like button. Just takes 2 seconds. Appreciate that if you would do that. And speaking of which, grateful for everybody joining us on the program, no matter where and how you're listening, whether it's on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref in Evansville, always the right call. 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, the voice of the region, WJOB. Keep it tuned right there, as well as 1380 The Fan in Fort Wayne, Fort Wayne's only sports station. No reason not to keep it locked right here all day long, wherever you're going. You've got all kinds of different great sports content to get you through the day. And again, if you're following us on YouTube, just hit the like button. I'm not going to ask for anything else. Hit the like button. Really appreciate that. Dusty May is without question the leading want by the available names. I don't think Chris Beard is a viable name. Not that he would not be a great selection. I think that if Indiana can avoid that at all costs, they will. And that's a little sad because it's a great option, but I mean, there's that baggage there. And I know that people are going to say, well, there was no charges. They were dropped. Yeah, well, doesn't matter. It does not matter. Dropped, no dropped. It happened, unfortunately. A lot of names out there. Todd Godin, people talking about him going to UNC because UNC also in this position. So, hey, we've got lots more coming up, including a conversation with the man himself, Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. We'll do it on the backside of this first break. Back with more to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday, and that means we get joined by the great one, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. And Don, it's almost golf season, my friend. Not quite there. We got a tease. Like, was it a week ago today when it was like 60 something?
It was a nice day. There were a couple, 2 or 3 nice days out there that we could have gotten out on the green stuff, which is not as green as it normally would be. But at this time of year, if you're getting out on any kind of a grass track out there, you're excited about it. But I haven't been out just yet. I've got a little green carpeting in my basement that I chip and putt on. So at any rate, I have been able to swing the club a little bit down there, but not on a golf course.
Yeah, I'm afraid the first time I swing, something's going to break. But we'll see. Getting to that stage in life, Don, I'm like, oh boy, this is a little scary. But the weekend was a very, very busy one. Obviously, there was a lot of stuff going on. The announcement that came out Friday in regarding to Mike Whitson's retirement, impending retirement, a Michigan game that very, very important for Indiana because they're still trying to do the impossible and get into the NCAA tournament because they had played some of these big games closely. I mean, you had a very tough loss against Maryland, against Purdue, and then they play this Michigan team pretty daggone close as well. Just can't finish the job again in this situation. In what was a much more respectful situation Saturday than I was fearful that it could be.
Well, I understand what your thinking is, and there's no doubt there was concern about how things would be handled on Saturday with Dusty May coming to town, being a former Indiana manager and guy that was on Mike Davis's staff back in the day, and a really good basketball coach. And of course, Michigan is one of those teams that is competing for a Big Ten championship, and Indiana is in a position right now where they can just about play spoiler, and that's about it at this juncture, because they put themselves in a position with the 7 losses in the last 8 ball games and 5 straight, in a position that they really have no chance now to win a Big Ten championship. And they're out of the picture from a rating standpoint. All the things that were predicted at the outset of this season have gone by the wayside, to say the least. And with the resigning head coach at the end of the season, with that announcement being made, I think it's total chaos right now in this basketball program. And we've got players that don't seem to be playing as hard or as difficult. You know, they're not challenging the things out there. They're not playing their best basketball by any stretch of the imagination. Umar Ballo, who has been one of the more consistent performers on this basketball team all season long, he's had back-to-back games where he's had like 4 points in each contest, not getting double-double rebound performances and point performances from him now. Miles Rice continues to struggle. Well, supposedly the best point guard that Indiana's had in a while, and I don't think there's much question about that, but he's not playing like it. So you've got guys that are, can this team somehow coalesce and come together and put forth the kind of effort that Indiana basketball teams have always done for the most part throughout these years? But this is starting to feel much like the last season under Archie Miller. It's starting to feel like there's not much you can do about how you're getting it done. And that's the sad part. I don't know the situation. I mean, I know what's happened, and I know the statement was made by the university and by Scott Dolson about the resignation of the coach. But how he's going to handle a lot of these things now with the press, with our talk shows, with our pregame and postgame show interviews and those kinds of things, that stuff may all have gone bye-bye. I just don't know at this juncture. We'll probably get a better feel for that here tomorrow night. We don't have a talk show this week, which is a really good thing. And we will have one next Monday night. So how are all these things going to be handled? And so right now it's chaos, I think, in just about everybody's mind about what's going to happen.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And you mentioned that some of these guys, Miles Rice and oh, daggone it, I'm looking right at it and I can't say his name. Daggone it.
Kaden Carlisle?
Carlisle.
Rice and Tucker?
The original starting guards, they average for how many points?
About 26, 27 points together.
Yeah.
Because Carlisle, I think, averaged around 13 a ball game at Stanford, and Rice was averaging right around 14 or so. Isn't that right?
He didn't even play in the Michigan game, did he?
Miles? Yeah, he was.
No, Miles Rice, but Kaden Carlisle.
Oh no, Carlisle did not play. Yeah, he hadn't played, I don't think, in the last 2 games.
Yeah. So, and Miles Rice comes up with 2 points. You get 6 from Ballo, you mentioned. That's 8 points from 2 guys that have been maybe the 2 most consistent players of the entire season.
Right.
And you mentioned him in Ballo the last couple of games. It definitely seems like he has checked out since the Purdue game when he walked off the floor. He took his game with him almost.
It does. I mean, right now it's chaos. It truly is. I mean, and I say chaos in the sense that we just don't know what to expect from anybody at this juncture. I don't know how the coaching staff at this point is looking at things, but with the struggles that Indiana's having at this point, you've got to find somehow, some way to pull this thing together, whether that's the team, the players themselves getting together and saying, look, this is ridiculous. We're better than this. We've got to turn this thing around to some degree, try to play the best basketball we can for the rest of the season. But they're putting themselves in a position right now where they're on the bubble in regard to the end of the season Big Ten tournament. They may not play in that because they're only allowing 15 teams to play in the Big Ten tournament this year. That's with the new configuration of the Big Ten. And so there are 3 teams that won't make it, that will not play in the Big Ten tournament, which has always been for the entire Big Ten, if you know what I'm saying. So that's
Absolutely.
no longer the case. So you could be knocked out of that too. So, I mean, this team, believe it or not, at this juncture could very well end up with a losing record this year. They're 14-10 now, and they've got 7 games left. And this thing can continue to spiral out of control to the end of the season if that becomes the case.
Yeah, I mentioned they have a game, their next game up tomorrow. Yes, it's tomorrow at Michigan State. And
That's
obviously, that's another top end of the Big Ten teams. Then you welcome in UCLA, who has been on a kind of a heater of late. They've won 7 straight.
Right.
Also now up into the top 5 of the Big Ten standings. So
and then you got Purdue.
Then you got Purdue again. So Indiana has played the entire top of the Big Ten here of late, it seems. And so, but yeah, they have a chance to still win some games to keep them above those bottom 3 teams, because right now Penn State is helping everyone along with Washington with just 3 wins. And how about that Penn State? Who would have thought that they would have ended up bottom of this conference?
Exactly, because they've got basically their whole ball club back from a year ago, except for the Pickett kid. They've got a lot of the key players back. They had such a great year in the first year under Mike Rhodes. We thought they were going to be one of the toughest team Indiana would play in the early part of the season. We got them back in early January at the Palestra in Philadelphia, and Indiana ended up winning that ball game, playing, I thought at that point in the season, their best game of the season. And I thought their second best ball game of the season was the game against Purdue here recently. But now all of a sudden things have, I mean, the Wisconsin ball game was just a killer because of how it got started. And, down 26-4, 22 points down in the first 10 minutes of that ball game. And how does that happen? And so look, as far as the resigning of Mike Woodson is concerned, from my perspective, that hasn't helped. It's not helped this team to find its way. And unfortunately, that's the sad part of this. But we'll find out. We'll find out how they play against Michigan State tomorrow night and see if they'll rally around the coach, so to speak, or that kind of thing. We'll just find out. But like I said, right now, it doesn't appear that this Indiana basketball team is going to be able to pull out of this spiraling downhill scenario that they're dealing with right now. And if they can pull out of it, I'm going to give them all the kudos in the world. But right now, it doesn't appear that they can.
Well, and speaking of kudos, I mentioned it earlier, but the crowd was in that game from start to finish.
Sure.
They were very supportive of the Indiana team. There was not much negativity. They were in that game until the very end, hoping for a win, pulling for a win.
Right. There's no doubt. And I give them credit for that. And there was essentially not any booing at the end either. I mean, you could hear a few, but and that's the one thing too. Look, this is a mess. It just is. Don't know how to put it any other way. How it's handled from here on out is going to be the real question mark. And we'll see. Other than that, I can't predict anything at this juncture because we're all affected by this. The fan base is affected by it, obviously. There's no question the athletic department is affected by it. The team is affected by it. And we, as people who cover this Indiana situation, are affected by it. So right now, as we go forward here in the next week, we'll probably have a better idea of just how things are going to be handled.
Yeah, I have, before you join us, mentioned that, and I'll say it again to the fans. I'll say it tomorrow is, hey, you've got games left. You kind of know what the situation is. You don't have to know everything about it, but you know the gist of the situation. There's no point in the constant complaining. I'm like, why stop? You know where this is going. Just stop with that stuff, because that is no different or better than anything else that someone else bad is with doing or saying. And so I'm like, whoa, man, just ride this thing out. It doesn't do anybody any good. It doesn't set up a better situation for whomever the next coach might be.
Right.
Player situations. There's just all kinds of things to put into it. Just ride it, man. And deal with it, because there's nothing else you can do. Like you said, it is what it is. And so there's that. Hopefully this team can rally. I mean, just from the pride standpoint, and I hate to bring this up, but they are being paid nicely. So earn your paycheck, man. I mean, if nothing else, go out and earn your paycheck.
Well, that's the world we're living in these days. So you're absolutely right about that. These guys are getting paid, and it's the real world now for players too. Let's face it. And most of them are taking advantage of it. Some may not, and it may cost them dearly down the road as well.
Absolutely, because a lot of these guys have eligibility left and will go on.
That's
either
right.
Stay or go on to someplace else.
That's right.
What you do and how you handle things, people look at that. That pays. That's like the Umar Ballo has been one of the forces this year, but he's also had some moments where you're like, dude, what's with that? And GMs watch that. That's not professional attitude. That's not a professional way of dealing with things.
Right. I mean, I understand frustration, and there's a lot of frustration on this basketball team.
And it's
right
good
now
to see sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I get the frustration aspect of it, but you've got to handle that as a professional, because that's what you are now. You're getting paid. So you got to handle it like you would handle a situation if you were in the NBA, so to speak. You're not, but the fact of the matter is you're being paid. So you got to act like a professional. And at this juncture, I'm not sure we're seeing a lot of that from this Indiana basketball team.
No, we're not. And hopefully, like you mentioned, they have to stay out of the bottom three to make it into the Big Ten tournament. And right now, that the teams that are fighting out to stay out of that final third spot, Iowa, Northwestern, and Minnesota. Minnesota was kind of in the bottom by themselves. They climbed a little bit. And they were tied with Northwestern and Iowa in the conference at 4 and 8. Well, some of them are 4 and 9, and then Indiana is in a group right above them, but with Rutgers, who that's very surprising. But the most surprising of all, an NCAA tournament team in Oregon. Oregon is going to make the tournament, but yet they are tied with Indiana and Rutgers with 5 conference losses. How crazy would that be to see an Oregon team get bumped out of the Big Ten tournament, but really have the numbers to make the NCAA tournament?
Well, here's the other aspect of that. The last week and a half of the season, Indiana will have that 2-game road trip to Washington and to Oregon. So there are 2 of the teams right now that are in that hunt for the bubble scenario and in regard to getting into the Big Ten tournament. This could be very interesting at the end of the year. And Ohio State now, a team that has found itself a little bit. They're 6 and 7 at this point, and they've been playing very competitive basketball against everybody. So it is truly right now, from Indiana's perspective, a mess. It's that simple.
It is, but making the Big Ten tournament has to be something this team takes enough pride in doing. The coaching staff, they have to say, look, we cannot miss the Big Ten tournament. I'm just not going to let that happen on my watch, whether you are a player, a starter, a bench guy, an assistant, it doesn't matter. Everyone has to take charge and say, this is not happening on our watch. It should never, ever happen, and it won't happen now.
We'll see.
What is up next for you, brother?
Well, we got Michigan State tomorrow night in East Lansing, so we'll be traveling up there today.
Well, enjoy the trip. At least it's not snowing. And and it's very ironic. The last thing, Tom Izzo can pass Bob Knight in Big Ten victories with a win over Indiana. How did the Big Ten make that schedule happen?
Well, the irony of it all is that Tom obviously tied Coach Knight on Saturday with that win over Oregon, missing two of his top players in Xavier Booker, who was out, along with Fears, the point guard. Those two guys didn't play in that game, and they still won it over Oregon. And Jace Richardson threw in 29 points, a true freshman who came in his first start of the year for Michigan State and threw in 29 points to help them beat Oregon. And, of course, it gave Tom Izzo the opportunity to get very emotional at the end of that ball game when he was talking to the crowd about tying Coach Knight's record. And, of course, the irony is now he has a chance to beat the record against Indiana.
And he'll do it at home. Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, he's gracious enough to join us. Appreciate you, sir. Have safe travels, brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Jim. See you.
You betcha. Don Fischer on the program here on this Monday from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We're back with more on the backside right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday. Thank you very much for joining us, being a part of the show. Just finished up with the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, as they will get set to head up to East Lansing. And I just wonder, this team has been, as I've said for a while now, fractured and factioned. They're not playing. They haven't played as one pretty much all season. And I think that when you saw what I saw at the end of the Purdue game, it said a lot. Umar Ballo has played extraordinarily well for this team all season. Let me be the first to say that. But the indelible image of him walking off the floor up the tunnel at Purdue while everybody else was shaking hands and whatnot is something I won't get out of my mind. Number one, you are being paid to do what you're doing right now. You cannot like it. You can be upset. You can be PO'd. You can be mad at a teammate. Do that in the locker room. Do that elsewhere. Handle that kind of business elsewhere. Have the sense, the maturity, the professionalism to do that elsewhere. And like I mentioned a minute ago, hey, these guys are being paid to play, especially most of which on this team were brought in for that reason. They're getting paid. I know you want to win, but you have to play like that every game. That does Ballo have a shot in the NBA? I don't know. He has no jump shot, so and he hasn't dominated like, say, Zach Edey dominated. I just don't see it. Now, who in the Big Ten has a shot at winning a national championship? Does anyone? I don't think so. There is not a national championship caliber team in the Big Ten. First of all, I say that because as from last year, you know, that I talk about, a national championship team, winning team has to have NBA talent on it. There has to be NBA draft picks on that team. I'll start at the top. Purdue has 0 in my mind. Braden Smith is not going to play point guard in the NBA. And I don't know of anyone else on their team that is even considerable. Michigan State, I don't know that they have anyone right now that's NBA worthy, but I haven't gotten as familiar with them yet as I'd like to. I don't know how good Fears really is. How about Xavier Booker? That's another Indiana kid. Now, Michigan, Danny Wolf, NBA player. Vladislav Golden, pretty potential NBA player. Illinois, definite, has NBA players on it. Rutgers has NBA players on it. Rutgers is too young. Illinois is going to have to really get it together here at the end because they have been, for the talent they have, they've been kind of a roller coaster. They're 8-6 in the conference right now. They're going to make the NCAA tournament. I'm still, let's see, I'm at 8 teams for certain that make the NCAA tournament out of the Big Ten. I don't think Ohio State does. I don't think USC does unless they continue to go on that heater. Oregon is going to be on the back end of it. They are like my 10th. Did I say 8 or 9? They would be the 9th team, but they're going to have to win. They've gone from being a top 15 team at the top of the Big Ten to currently sitting in like 12th place in the conference. But again, this conference is wicked. You only go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 positions to where the teams that follow have losing conference records, starting with USC and Oregon, or USC at 5-7, Oregon at 5-8, Indiana at 5-8. At one time, they were what, 4-1? I know they were 4-2. So now, next coach. How weak are you to tell the media they couldn't ask Woodson about him leaving at the end of the season? Yeah. Well, let's be honest. Mike Woodson doesn't answer questions to begin with. He hasn't answered questions all season long, questions that were direct questions that were posed. Again, the piece that I played from Dusty earlier, his opening statement, talked about exactly what they had to do to win this game, what they needed to do to win this game. He gave some numbers, do that. And that's what you expect from a coach, to know what happened, to be able to break it down. This is why we lost. This is why we won. We knew we had to do this. I wish I knew. Well, again, I got to get them over the hump. Those kind of answers tell you there's no understanding. And again, I'm not going to beat that dead horse. It's mind-boggling. I have to say, it is mind-boggling. After Dusty was asked about directly the IU job, I think he was asked what would he say to Michigan fans. I'm not sure if this is where this is or not, but we'll find out.
Win a game and mission accomplished.
Yeah, any message to Michigan fans that might be worried right now?
I mean, there's nothing I can say that's good. I mean, that's going to make this one way or the other. I love being at Michigan. That hasn't crossed my mind other than just what friends and family said. And to be honest, I've eliminated all that. So.
Thank you. Tony. Yeah.
There you go. Again, there's nothing I can say. Well, yeah, there is something you could have said. You could have said, well, they shouldn't worry because there's no reason. I'm not leaving Michigan. Could have said that. Could have said, I am not interested in any other job. I am staying at Michigan. Could have said that. Let's see. Could have said, it's great. I'm flattered, but I'm not interested. Could have said that, but didn't. Said it was flattering. Said a lot of nice things. Did not say no. When just a direct question about what could you tell the Michigan fans? Oh, I'm happy. Well, of course you're happy. You're in a hunt for the Big Ten title. You've got a good team you're playing right now. Why would you not be happy? No one asked if you weren't happy. But again, in a tough situation, what is he supposed to say? Well, I'm sorry to tell Michigan fans, but as soon as this glorious season is over, I'm going to leave and take the Indiana job. Well, no. He's got games to play. Number one, he wants his team focused on the job at hand, which is to try and win the Big Ten regular season title, then to go into the Big Ten tournament, trying to win the Big Ten tournament, then to go into the NCAA tournament and do as much damage as they can. That's where his mind is right now, although it's hard, I would imagine. But he should be able to he mentioned he's able to compartmentalize things. But he'll do that because he's focused on the task at hand. He doesn't have to worry about this. This will take care of itself. And by this, I mean Indiana, the Indiana situation. His agent will be talking to whomever. Doesn't have to worry about it. There will be a simple question from the agent to Dusty. Are you interested? Yes. No. If it's no, boom, that puts an end to it. If that answer is yes, I will listen. Well, here comes the bidding. And there will I don't know that there will be bidding per se, but there will be an offer from Indiana. And there will have to be a counter offer from Michigan, which he would have gotten a contract extension after this season anyway, undoubtedly. Where they are, the conference standings, know that he's going to be a wanted man. The fact he was able to negotiate this buyout that he currently has, that the buyout itself is $5 million. Now he does have a bonus he was giving. I think it was like a signing bonus or something. It's either 1.125 or 1.5. I don't know what it was. That has to be returned if he were to leave. So it ends up being like $6 million and change. I don't think if Indiana wants him, I don't think that that's going to stand in the way, because anybody they get there's going to be a minimum payout of like, I don't know, $3 million or so, you would imagine. And so a couple more million, not going to stand in the way if he is the guy they want. If he is the guy they want, Scott Dolson is going to pull a Curt Cignetti. He is going to go and get him. I believe that Dusty May wants the position. It's a bad situation for him in the sense that he just got to Michigan. He's been there a year. But he kind of knew this was possibly going to happen. And again, there's no coincidence that he negotiated a low buyout. You add to that, it's not like he's replacing Archie Miller, which would have been easy. He's replacing a Mike Woodson, who is a legendary player at the school, but has not been a legendary coach and has not been a legendary representative, to be honest with you. The arrogance has kind of stained that. But he can be the savior. Not only can he get the Indiana job, he can be the savior. What do you think Simon Scott Assembly Hall would be like if Indiana's team, were playing like Michigan right now? We're in the position that Michigan is in right now. What do you think that place would be like game in and game out? I'll tell you, it would be a nut job factory, people. It would be raining down like it used to. And I think that that's exactly going to happen. Scott will get this next hire right. I have no doubt. But it starts and ends with Dusty May. Do not kid yourself. We'll talk more about it as we continue. But that's the situation in Indiana. Like Don said, it's chaos. Captain Chaos. That's going to wrap it up for this hour. Got more coming up. Dopirak, Greg Rakestraw will join us as well. And your comments on the backside as we head to the break. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33 Pizza. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. And you get it for just 0.9% financing. or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. Did you enjoy the Super Bowl? It was kind of a super bust. Man, the Eagles, not a shocker. I mean, the Eagles are obviously a great team. The Chiefs going for the three-peat. Man, there's a reason nobody's done it ever in the NFL. It's hard to do, and does not happen this time either. As the Eagles, man, I can't even remember what did it get out to first? Was it 34-0? I don't remember what it got out to. I stopped watching it toward the end. I'll be honest with you. I'm like, yeah, even Mahomes is not doing this. He's not coming back on this one. So there is that. Without question. Let's see. North Carolina, the president of North Carolina's public university system has temporarily suspended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill trustees' authority over athletics for acting beyond their designated duties. Boy, that sounds familiar. In a January 6 memo, President Peter Hans wrote that to UNC trustees chairman John Pryor, citing concerns where board members appear to act independently of their campus's administrations in matters squarely within the responsibility of the chancellor. Hans' memo, first reported Friday by the Assembly and obtained by WRAL-TV in Raleigh, stated the unilateral action by trustee members risks blurring the lines of actual and apparent authority with these athletic department negotiate business transactions with third parties that include past, current, and future employees. The letter came after trustees had criticized the firing of football coach Mack Brown, followed by involvement in the hiring of six-time Super Bowl winning coach Bill Belichick as Brown's successor. There were also the trustees' push last spring to audit the athletic department while questioning data provided by athletics director Bubba Cunningham, though Chancellor Lee Roberts publicly backed Cunningham's leadership. So, a little infighting going on at North Carolina. So, I would imagine that I can see that getting more common as the $20 million deal comes around, but we shall see. We shall see. Other scores over the weekend. Some fun game. Villanova beating Xavier. Nebraska continues to win. They get a win at home, beating Ohio State 79-71. And Nebraska, they're also a team that was playing okay, then hit a dip. Now they're coming back. They're sitting 8 in eighth position. Actually tied for 8th and 9th at the moment in the Big Ten. But they're looking solid for an NCAA appearance at 16-8 overall. Same record as Illinois, who's definitely going to make it. Ohio State is in one of those odd spots, man. They're 6-7 in the conference, but they're 14-10 overall. I don't see them making the tournament, although they have a net ranking that's out of this world. It's nuts. It's going to be crazy to see who makes it in and who doesn't. And that's why Indiana still had a shot to make it. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star, the beat writer for the Pacers, set to join us now. And I see your camera on the bottom, but when I pull you in, it's not there for some reason. But how's Dustin Dopirak doing? Well, he's frozen. That's why. So we'll get him back in here in a second when he rejoins us. But looking forward to talking to him. Pacers kind of been up and down a little bit. Well, it's up and down season, I guess. Up and down season. The NCAA tournament not that far away. Big Ten tournament not that far away. I never would have imagined talking about Indiana possibly not making it, but we'll talk about that. Dustin Dopirak joining us now from the Indy Star, beat writer for the Pacers. Pacers that been on such a heater, man, that it doesn't take much to knock it down a little bit, but their slow starts kind of caught up to them a little bit.
Yeah, they were horrendous this week in first quarters. Got beat. If you took the four first quarters of their 4 games on the road, they were outscored 145-86. That's suboptimal. And so that was a good goal. They were able to come back. They were down 42-22. Really the Clippers comeback was pretty remarkable. Because really when it got the kind of anvil came down on their heads in the first quarter was after Miles Turner goes down. He actually, it was kind of a friendly fire incident, I guess. But Benedict Mathurin went up trying to block a shot, and he accidentally caught Turner in the mouth. And pretty hard, and so Turner was basically like just staggered on the floor. Tried to get up, ran to the other side, and then Rick Carlisle called timeout to be like, okay, you good? You want to come out of this game? And they were trying to get him off the floor, and he kind of staggered, and basically it was a scary moment. It's like one of those okay, he was listed as out with concussion evaluation, and I think that really kind of knocked them off their game pretty good. I think that was part of the reason why they fell behind in that one. But again, able to get it back together, rally back. The second quarter, I think they won more than they lost the first, which is pretty remarkable. I think it was 42-19 first quarter after a 42-22 or 42-19 second quarter after a 42-22 first. But they come back next day, after rallying all the way back and beating, what is a pretty good Clippers team, which is likely a playoff team with Kawhi Leonard and James Harden and Norman Powell and Ivica Zubac. I mean, that's a legit team. They come back, play a Lakers team that doesn't have Luka, that doesn't have LeBron James, and Austin Reeves carves him up for 45. And they were down like 22 after the first. Obviously, managed to come back and make that a game. They were within 4 in the third, within 5 late in the fourth, but weren't able to close that gap all the way. So come out of a 2-2 West Coast road trip isn't bad. It does seem like this team needs the All-Star break. You do get the sense that, and they won't say it, but the cumulative effect going back to Paris is starting to wear on them. I certainly think that's why they lost to Portland on Tuesday. I mean, obviously you go from 6 time zones ahead to 3 time zones back in the course of a couple weeks. I think that's wearing on them. You're starting to see them just look a little bit ragged. So they've only got 2 more games to the break. They play Tuesday, Wednesday, big one against the Knicks on Tuesday, and then they go to Washington to play the last place Wizards. So if they split those, survive those, get themselves to, get themselves into that gap, they should be in a lot better shape. But, still come out of it okay. I mean, again, they're still in 4th place in the East. They're being helped obviously by the fact that Giannis is missing time with the Cavs.
Yes, he is missing time. I cannot believe the Pacers lost to a Lakers team without Luka Doncic and LeBron James. That's amazing. Pacers going with 10 players, though, who all received substantial minutes. TJ McConnell, the least of those at 13, but he poured in 12 points in those 13 minutes. So a very efficient day by TJ McConnell off the bench for the Pacers. Jarris Walker, he had just 2 points in his 17 minutes, but Obi Toppin kicked in 14, a double-digit score, and Ben Shepherd, another 10, as they also got double digits out of 4 of their 5 starters, save for Andrew Nembhard, who did not manage to do that. But they got an efficient game from I just said TJ McConnell, Dustin, but that was about it for him. As Dustin is having issues connecting today, and we'll get him back on here as soon as he can. But it was just like you said, I guess they're wearing down because that Lakers team was without Luka Doncic and without LeBron James, and they get smoked. They give up 45 points to Austin Reeves. Holy smokes, another 24 to a guy you've probably never heard of. Rui Hachimura. It's crazy. I don't say that name.
You don't remember Rui?
How do you say Rui?
Rui Hachimura. You don't remember him at Gonzaga? He was a stud.
Oh, now I do. As soon as you say Gonzaga.
No, I mean Rick Carlisle made a point of pointing this out because I mean obviously that game was moved to ESPN because they were thinking it was going to be Luka's debut with the Lakers. And I mean, you should have seen the list of ESPN names that were supposed to be there. By the way, like that was going to be a big deal. But Rick Carlisle came out and obviously, they announced Luka was out on Friday. And late Friday night, LeBron James was ruled out. And so, basically, obviously ESPN still did the game. They still had their broadcast team. There were a lot of other folks that were supposed to show up and make it a big sort of extravaganza, weren't there. But so Rick Carlisle was like, okay, like I need guys to understand this because the Pacers have a history of not getting up for teams when they're missing guys. It's been an issue for them. Certainly, I think really the most memorable one I can remember is 2 years ago when Brooklyn came to Gainbridge, and this is when they still had Durant and Kyrie, and I think they just lost Harden, but basically like Kyrie and Durant both sat out, and they had a couple other pretty good guys sit out, and there was a big discussion about whether that was okay to do that on the road. And there's just presumption that the Pacers were going to win the game, and they got smashed. Like when the guys that Brooklyn ran out there just whooped them. And so you're just reminded that these are still NBA players, like these are still dudes. And so Carlisle came out there and is like, ran through the list of everybody's best game ever of saying like, all right, this guy's had a 25-point game. This guy's had a 30-point game. Like these guys are the real deal. And they are. First off, Austin Reeves was spectacular. I mean, he was just incredible. And you're reminded, that was a guy that Team USA saw fit to put on the World Cup team and, was with Tyrese Halliburton on that group. Rui's a nice player. I mean, there's a reason he starts in that team. So, I mean, what the Lakers were really able to do, what was impressive, I thought about the group that they run out when they don't have LeBron and those guys is they have a ton of length, basically like Dorian Finney-Smith, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt. They ran those three guys out together and the Pacers could not get the ball in the paint. I mean, like it was a major problem. And those guys were all like 6'8", 6'9" with like, 7-foot wingspans. I mean, those guys were really legit defensive players. And so that was a problem. Pacers had a really tough time getting the ball in the paint, especially in the first quarter. They held Pascal Siakam, and Siakam's been special all year. Obviously, he's an all-star. Still managed to get his because they were being so physical with him. He got so many free throws. And that's an improvement for him that he starts making free throws. But I think he was 1 of 8 in the first half. Like that don't happen. Like that was, like Halliburton was off, and you've seen that before. Like obviously Tyrese has had games where he hasn't really shot well. Siakam doesn't have games like that, and that wasn't because he was terrible. It was because they worked him. I mean, they were physical with him. They beat him up. Again, obviously he goes to the line, probably deserved more free throws than he got. But they beat him up. They were not letting Pascal Siakam beat them. And again, they had the dudes to do it, to keep them from doing what they want to do. So, I mean, you look and see a Lakers team that's pretty well built, for postseason. I think like you saw those pieces come out and you're like, all right, because it is important to have the second line of guys. I mean, I saw like the narrative going like, oh, the Pacers are getting beat by the Lakers G League team. Like, no, the Pacers are getting beat by the rest of the Lakers starters. Like Dorian Finney-Smith, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, those are desirable defensive players in the NBA, and they're a problem. Now, Austin Reeves is not supposed to get 45 against you. Now he was special, and they didn't do a good job of keeping him out of the lane. I mean, they got to defend better than they did. Like if Austin Reeves gets 20 against you, that's one thing. If Austin Reeves gets 45 against you, you've done something wrong. So there's that.
He was good. Somebody like that go off, but I mean, and why you would not get up for a team? As a matter of fact, I would be salivating. That's like fresh meat. You're like, oh, they don't have Luka or LeBron. Let's go kick the crap out of them.
But you get more. You get like when you're those guys, though, you get more into it when it's Luka and LeBron.
I know, they wanted still.
Like,
you
should go take
that optics of let's take the Lakers down. That's their fault. They don't have their guys. We need this.
They're way more excited when they're beating the best dudes.
Yeah, I get it.
Excited when they're beating the best dudes because these guys believe, they all believe that they're, that they're among the best dudes. So they want they wanted badly to see Luka, because like they thought it was going to be cool, like they thought they were going to be. I mean, they were still on national TV, but they thought they were going to be in the game. And how cool would that be if you go, when everybody's coming to watch LeBron and Luka, if you go hand them one, like what they knew the narrative was as far as, I mean, like, again, it's an NBA game. You should be motivated to win an NBA game, period, end of story. You need every win you can get. And they've been better at that. That's one thing. I mean, the Pacers like really had problems against like lottery teams last year, and they probably left like 6 or 7 on the table. They lost to almost all of the worst teams last year. Still got 6th in the East, still won 47 games, still ended up in the Eastern Conference Finals. But like you look through their list, and they had some bad losses this year. Since the 10-15 start, I mean, you got to look at them as a separate team since then. More or less. I mean, they're just a different functional team. So they've won, I think, 16 of 22, 23. Since that start, I think. So they're 29-22. So that makes them, they're 19-6. Yeah, 19-6, 19-7 since the 10-15 start. And you look at that, and they haven't lost back-to-back games in that period. And most of the time when they faced a team that was down, they were able to get them. Like they even if they messed around, they got it done. They beat, Brooklyn had nobody when they played them, basically in Brooklyn, and they managed to pull that out. And they tend to have an issue there. But I think, like I don't think they really even weren't up. I think like the Lakers group that's out there isn't a bad basketball team. Like I think it's just sometimes it's just like there's a presumption that you should be able to beat teams that you're missing, when they're missing guys. Like the Lakers still had dudes, and those dudes really showed up. And so did they not get up to guard Dustin Reeves? I don't know, but like Reeves is a good player, like for like he gets lost because you have LeBron, they had AD, and he was clearly the third guy. But like he does stuff, man. Like Austin Reeves didn't, he earned some of those. There's no doubt about it. Like they didn't let him waltz to that. Like you shouldn't give him 45, but he played really well. And again, the other guys are legit dudes. Dorian Finney-Smith is a defender everybody wants. Rory Hachimura is a defender everybody wants. Jared Vanderbilt's a defender everybody wants. Like those guys got length. They're like athletic freaks, wingspans down. Absurd. So they did some stuff. I mean, like I get the motivational piece, but it's like it's not like you can just say like, well, we're just gonna thump the Lakers because they don't have anybody. Like they have dudes. They still have dudes when you take the main two guys out.
And they're all professionals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're all professionals. You mentioned the All-Star break. Has that not already happened?
Nope.
Wow, when is that?
Next, so it's always the week after. It's always the week after the Super Bowl because they're not trying to mess around with that. They're
Daytona 500. Now it's Daytona 500 weekend. Then
what's that?
Now then that means it's Daytona 500 weekend.
I mean, yeah, but you'd rather go against the Daytona 500 than football.
Than the big game, yeah.
Yeah, you're not trying. Obviously, you're not trying to like go up against the Super Bowl, but like not even against playoffs. You're trying to get past that. And like I mean, obviously, I think the All-Star game is not in great shape to start with. I mean, they're better off having just regular NBA games than they are the All-Star game, because it's just not a great product. But yeah, so no, that's coming up this week. They're in San Francisco. Pascal Siakam made it, so that's going to be the only Pacers representation, but he's had a spectacular year. Just been very solid, very dependable for them. So yeah, so that's going to be the Pacers lone representation, but they'll come up this week. They play the Knicks on Tuesday, the Wizards on Wednesday, and then they'll play again until next Thursday against Minnesota.
And let's see, they've got to play. They welcome in New York for a game tomorrow night, then go to Washington, and then they will have an 8-day break between their next game. So that's where the All-Star game sits, right?
Yes, it does. Yep.
Where is the All-Star game this year?
San Francisco.
San Francisco. Well, man, a couple of guys still have to travel.
One, Pascal's the only guy who's got to travel. I mean, it is a pain, but it's just like, I mean, it is what it is. It's the All-Star game. And
it's better than, I guess, having most of your team having to do this.
Yeah. Everybody else gets to go have a break and go. Yeah. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton's not even participating in anything. So, I mean, he could use it. He could use the time off. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, like, you're gonna, like, put it in some place where you got to go somewhere. I mean, they're not going to have it in the Central Division 2 years in a row. So I think the next couple are out west. So it is what it is. I mean, they treat you, like, I'm sure, Golden, like, the Warriors are going to do a phenomenal job of hosting that thing. Golden State just does everything they do is great, honestly. So that they'll be well taken care of. And yeah, and it's not even they, it's just Pascal, and he's the only guy that's going.
Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star with us, CB writer for the Pacers. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Back with more right after these messages. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing, or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition, or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, Dustin Dopirak. We just finished up talking about the Pacers as they're a couple games away from getting a break during the All-Star break. Indiana basketball, I know that not your beat, but you're always up on most things that are going on. I guess I'll say Indiana announced Mike Woodson's retirement last Friday in a it's typical Indiana fashion, I guess all you can say. It's kind of a Don Fischer, they labeled it best that this is kind of chaos, and it is, because you've got a guy that is being retired, but I think he doesn't think he deserves to be retired. I think he thought he was coming back next year. And I don't know how well this is going to end for Indiana in a multitude of ways, how they play the rest of the season. Some of the guys seem to have checked out, like Don said. But they've got, 8 games or so left. Well, that's if they make the Big Ten tournament. And now they have to fight to stay in there. But it's an unusual situation. It was an unusual situation Saturday having Dusty May in, Dustin. But the funny thing is, I don't know if you had a chance to hear any of his post-game remarks, but the one word he did not use was no. Asked if there was interest. He did not say no. Asked what he would tell Michigan fans. He's happy at Michigan. You know, the normal stuff. He of course there's not a lot he can say,
Sure.
but the thing is, if it is a definitive no, well, you'd say that.
Right.
I've even heard coaches say no when they didn't mean no.
Right.
So the fact that he did not in any way shut the door on this has to discontinue the speculation.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I mean, even a couple of years ago, you know, like Stevens, you know, waffled a little bit. I think similarly, if I'm not mistaken, eventually shut it down after I think the first one he kind of let it ride, if I remember correctly, you know, when he was asked. And, you know, so, yeah, I mean, like anybody who's ever in that position is not in, you know, no one's handled that well other than people who definitively don't want anything to do with it. You know, like that, the people that are in the position of not having, you know, truly not having any interest in saying like, no, I don't want that job. You know, I don't want that job at all. They're obviously in a good space. You know, like if for whatever reason you're mentioned for a job and you don't want it at all, you know, that's the place where you could just say, nope, no chance. I mean, and so, you know, who knows? I you know, like, he knows he obviously knows it's available. He's an Indiana guy. He hasn't ruled it out in his mind yet. Maybe once he starts hearing about it, you know, thinks a better sense of it, you know, maybe even gets through his season, you know, he'll think either you know, one way or the other. He'll have a better sense of, no, I want to stay at Michigan. I'm in good shape here. I don't need to involve myself in that. I don't think it's a good situation right now. Or maybe he'll say, man, I do want to go back. I always wanted that job. It's available. I'm in a good place. I'm going to make everybody mad at Michigan, but you know what? When I was in school, I hated Michigan. So why don't I just do this? You know, like maybe he'll be there. I don't know. I mean, it's and you know, I mean, that's definitely one person that they need to try. You know, like they can't not call Dusty May on this, period. You know, like whether, I mean, if he says no, he says no, but Dusty May is on the list of guys that you absolutely have to call and give it a shot. You know, like
absolutely. I mean, you have to call anybody that is a legitimate potential fulfillment of this position, but especially when you have one that is an obvious top target that again, your timing is actually kind of screwed you. This would have been the perfect move to make a year ago. It would have been, look how hard it is. But for people who, yes, I believe that they should have done it a year ago. Don't get me wrong. I'm in that camp because to me, enough had been seen that, well, you're getting, you got the same book for 3 years in a row. Did you think you weren't going to get it 4 years in a row? Anyway, that would have been the perfect timing. It would have saved them a bunch of money. It would have put them in a great position right now. They would be what Michigan is right now, had they made that move. But regardless of the fact they didn't, and so now they got to go through this. And if they get Dusty, well, that's great. That's going to work out wonderfully for Indiana. They can put a nice bow on that, and it will surely make this distaste that is right now kind of go away quickly. But if they don't, then boy, now you start doing what Indiana has had to do, at least the last cycle. They don't get their guy. And now are you in scrambling mode? But I truly believe that Scott Dolson, what he did with Kurt Cignetti was no accident. And I think that he has been thinking about this for quite some time. He's had to put, you know, a good AD always has that list.
Yeah.
And so thinking about that and been able to watch coaches throughout the season. So at least it should be easier for him in that regard. But this is something that football needed to, you really needed to get it right for financial reasons. You have to get this right for a bunch of reasons. Most importantly, because there is no excuse for Indiana not being a top-level basketball program with the resources, with where they are, with the history, the tradition, the fan support. There's no excuse.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think where do I just to to start on some of that. I mean, I do think that I'll answer the question of whether they should have done it last year in two different ways. I mean, I think, obviously saw like, Greg Doyle's column was pretty sharp. And I get the impression that you have heard a lot of the same things. Obviously, I haven't been on the beat since his first year. So, like, I don't know, like everything I know about how he's operated, Mike Woodson's operated in this job is secondhand. So, like, I uncovered him for 1 year but was still like, not immediately post-COVID, but pretty much, just pretty immediately post-COVID. So there were still restrictions as far as where everybody could go and masking and distance and all that kind of stuff. And I don't even remember like if I covered any AAU events that year or anything like that. So like I didn't really see the recruiting in Technicolor there that I was used to seeing it. So I don't know what was what as far as that was concerned. But like obviously some of the list of things of like obviously he was able to get players and whatnot, and so I don't know who knew what and that kind of thing. But if you're looking at just the record, and that's what everybody sees from a 10,000 foot view, is you go tournament, miss tournament, fire coach. Like that's not usual. Like I mean, like you do say like, all right, well, you saw the same book. Like you saw a different book the first 2 years as far as what happened on the floor. And you could say, well, you had Trace Jackson Davis, and it's like, okay, well, you could get another good player, like it's not out of the question that you could put together a team that can do that. So if you like it, usually, especially if it's an alum, like that and a successful alum, if you go like good year, tournament season, bad season, fire coach, it's like, okay, well, you weren't giving that guy a lot of, like leeway there. And is the next guy going to get any leeway? Like that feeds into the, Indiana fans have these impossible high expectations and nobody can meet them. And, shoot, they even fired their, famous alum that everybody likes after 3 years. And he made the tournament the first two. He had a bad year and they couldn't wait to get him out of town. Like that would have fit that narrative. And so again, like they might have had, based on some of the reporting, they might have had justification. Like if you're not, like if you're not all the way bought into the job and it's obvious, to everybody, then that's obviously something you could leak and get out there and say like, hey, like this isn't just because he had one bad losing season. Like we don't think he's really interested in the job because he's not, all the way in there. And again, I don't know that because again, I have not been covering that team. And so everything I've seen is what's been reported elsewhere and secondhand. So I don't know what's exactly the case and how exactly it's been functioning. But like if everybody in the league was like, nobody ever sees this guy, he's never recruiting. He doesn't show up at any of these shoe company events, like tournaments and stuff. He's never looking at players. Like it's like, okay, well, that's a whole lot easier to make that case than it is just to say, well, he had a bad year. He's going to have another bad year next year. Like, it's like, well, he had two good ones the first year. Where do you get that? So I don't, at the end of the day, I actually don't think it's as chaotic and poorly stage managed from 50,000, from 10,000 feet, 20,000 feet as it might look up close. Because to me, it's like, all right, they whether he's being forcibly retired or not, it still looks like, okay, like you're letting him make it out to be like this was his call, like he is operating in kind, at least. I don't know if he's going to break the silence or whatever, but I mean, like, obviously I heard, watched a little bit of the game on CBS, before I went to the game in LA. And, I mean, like just apparently he had a meeting with the Raftery and I think Sparoditis, I think was the play-by-play guy for that game. And he said, he asked us not to talk about, why he made this decision. He's going to talk about it in due time. Obviously you weren't allowed to ask about it he just said he wasn't going to answer it after the game. So he's playing along enough as far as that's concerned. So like, yeah, it's altogether possible that in, first, second week of March, when they get eliminated, either they don't make the tournament or, I mean, they're probably not going to make the tournament. So, last game.
You mean the Big Ten tournament?
What's that?
Yeah. You mean the Big Ten tournament?
Good point. Probably after they get eliminated in the Big Ten tournament, he'll, come out and say, I didn't think this was fair. Even if he does, like you're far enough along, you're a month in. So then he looks bitter and, like that's not a bad look for you. You move on. You can look at it and say, hey, we gave him the time. We gave him 4 years to turn it around. We think that's pretty healthy. We think basically any coach should have 4 years. Like that's still, obviously these cycles move faster, but it's still a cycle. It's still freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. And so didn't get it right. Didn't feel like it was heading in a good direction, made a choice to make a move. And I like, that's better. Like if they were keeping him around for another month, I think that would look worse. I think, obviously going into the Michigan game, they were obviously cognizant of what that would look like if he hadn't already made the decision to move on. If they were, if Dusty May was getting his name chanted when Woodson was still intending to be the coach for the following year, like I actually think it looks weird, but it looks less chaotic from a distance. It looks like they did a better job of making this power play than it might look like up close.
Yeah, and then now we talk about the many names that I've mentioned Dusty May, of course, but there are a lot of other names that Dusty might say no. I know that he's happy where he is, but there's always a chance he says no. And because he's in his first year, I don't think that's the case personally. I think it's going to be a very hard decision because he's in his first year, because he did not plan to leave. He did not want to do that. I mean, nobody wants that. But at the same time, you're offering a dream opportunity that most coaches do not get the opportunity to period. I mean, not many guys get a chance to go home. And especially a guy like Dusty May, who didn't play for Indiana. Like he said, I didn't score a point at Indiana. He's not a legendary figure. He's become that because of what he's achieved, I think. But it's just a dream situation of sorts, while it's also a nightmare for him.
Yeah, no, it's a tough tough scenario to be in. Like, anybody else in your life, like if you get a dream job opportunity that takes you back home, and you tell your boss that you're leaving, like, hey, this is where my parents live. This is like we want to bring the kids closer to their grandparents. I want to be around my buddies, from home. Like, it's an easy sell. Like like. If I and when I went back to Pittsburgh, for the couple of years that I went home, like it wasn't a problem for me to go tell my boss in Knoxville, like, hey, I got this opportunity in Pittsburgh. We feel like we got to take it. Like that was like no hard feelings, whatsoever. And but like if you tell that to an athletic department that has made you the centerpiece of its basketball program, that's a different story. And like also there's a fan base that's going to hate you forever. Like anytime you play Michigan from now until eternity, whether you're doing it in Indiana for a decade or 20 years or for 5 years, and then you go someplace else if you get fired after 5 years and you go someplace else after that, they're going to boo you for eternity. Anytime you ever step foot in Chrysler Arena from now until, the day that you stop coaching, you're going to get booed, and you're going to get booed profusely. So it's something to set up. I mean, you are going to hear bad stuff. It is going to be nasty. Like, like you're probably going to hear somebody, I don't know, like on the internet at this point, there's no rules. People just say the worst stuff. So you got to be up for that, like you got to be prepared for that. So it would be tough, but like, and it's just a question of whether that's what he wants. And, like, and in this profession, like you have to be smart and know, okay, what's stable. And, Indiana's tough sell right now, like if, because basically it's like, all right, like, yeah, you sign up for the opportunity to come home, but, you also look at it and say, okay, well, how many guys since Bobby, and has it ended well for any of them, and so it's like, all right, well, what tells me that I'm going to be in a better position, than Mike Woodson, Archie Miller, Tom Crean, Kelvin Sampson, Mike Davis, like what makes me sure that I'm in better shape, that I would be in better position, that I don't stay at a place like Michigan. Like it ain't, again, like leaving Florida Atlantic for that job is one thing, like when you're already at an established Big Ten program that has money coming out the wazoo, like that you'll never Like obviously they when it comes to NIL stuff with the house settlement and everything like that, there's going to be decisions that have to be made at Michigan, and Michigan presumably will always put football first. But you got a lot of money in Michigan, and they really want to
sir.
And so saying
they
no,
have enough.
Yeah,
there's enough in Bloomington as well, as we've seen. What's up next for you, man?
Hopefully a lot of nothing. No, I mean obviously a couple games this week. I will not be covering Tuesday's game because it is Mary Jane Slaby's 35th birthday. So happy birthday. But anyway, so I'll be skipping that, so you won't see me covering anything on Tuesday, and I'll be covering the Wizards game from TV. Yeah. So I don't know. They'll practice today, cover out the string through the All-Star break, and then take the All-Star break and go from there.
Sounds great. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Keep local papers alive by being a subscriber as well. Appreciate you as always, brother.
Absolutely, Jim.
We've got more coming up, including from our buddy Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network is going to join us next. Here's a little more Dusty May on the way out.
Dusty, back to the game. The big three were the big three. There's kind of a phrase that you need three going into March to make a run. Speak to just them all doing things when you need it.
Yeah, they made the plays. I mean, I'm sitting here today feeling really, really great about our performance because those guys made big plays down the stretch. On nights, I still believe. I thought, Reuben Jones made a lot of invisible plays. There were 5 or 10 that jump out that aren't going to be on the stat sheet that contribute to winning. And when you take a back seat and you start looking for guys as they emerge as your go-to guys, it shows great humility and self-awareness. And I think our guys are doing that. But the flip side of it is when those three cause an overreaction, we have to trust that they're going to play off that. And I thought they did a nice job of that as well. So
sounds like a coach that knows what he's doing. We're back with more, including the great Greg Rakestraw right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-701-0838. 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore help you find the home you want today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33 Pizza. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios, and joined out by the great Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network. How was your weekend, sir?
My weekend was fantastic, and since, first of all, thank you for agreeing to move my time back. you did not want to hear my son on his way to the dentist in the background of the earlier scheduled interview. And because
Did he know
normally I
where he
lead
was
off the
going?
show, you would have had an extra guest that you really wouldn't have wanted. And so, normally I don't get to hear commercials. I just get to hear the open. I get to hear both the Buffer brothers. So this is the part where I again give you a friendly reminder. If you want to take a break from all Jim Coyle radio during the commercial breaks, I will gladly do that Hard Truth read for free. And by free, meaning you're going to send me some Hard Truth product.
I will love that because you've made that offer before and I haven't been able to get around to do it. But it definitely needs to be a lot less of me. Anything less of me.
Well, not less of you during the segments, just less of you during the commercial breaks. That's all.
And I appreciate you, brother. I really do. You are always the best. How was your weekend? I know the IHSAA is still rolling on, and that's kind of keeping you mostly busy right now, I would imagine.
Correct. So, this is a weekend, and it sounds counterintuitive, but sectional weekends are actually slower for me because you're down to one game on a Saturday night, and I didn't have anything this weekend, from a college hoop standpoint with IU, Indy, or Marion. So, one game Saturday night and enjoying the Super Bowl like a regular, common fan yesterday. So the game that I had on Saturday night, because it's girls sectional week, Hamilton Southeastern, number 1 in the state, beats Westfield 46-38 to get to 25-0. But the big story in high school girls basketball is the defending state champ in Lawrence Central lost. It was their second loss of the season. HSE had been the other one after beating Lawrence North by 24 when they played 3 weeks ago. Lawrence North comes from behind and beats LC 47-42. So we will not have not just a repeat 4A state champ, despite the fact that LC brought back their starting 5 in totality and really have probably 3 to 4 Division I starters on that team. We won't have the very much expected number 1 versus number 2 Lawrence Central HSE rematch from the Hall of Fame Classic back on December the 27th. So, and to be blunt, HSE was down 11 in the third quarter. We nearly had a night where numbers 1 and numbers 2 both got beat. The 4A southern half of the girls bracket is now completely wide open. I could almost make a case for virtually every one of the 8 teams remaining to find their way through and continue on, to get to Gamebridge Fieldhouse. If HSE can get past this next game against Homestead, I think they'd be the favorite against whomever they would play in terms of their couple of semi-state games. So my expectation is that Hamilton Southeastern plays for the 4A championship for the first time since Sidney Parrish was a senior back in 2019. But it was a good game in Noblesville that I had, and it was a night with a major upset that got everybody's attention statewide.
That's what makes all tournaments so great, especially basketball tournaments. It happens in basketball no matter what level you're talking about. Man, that is because you can see a great season just end in the snap of a finger when you're not expecting it. But again, that's what makes it so incredible and has made the Indiana tournaments so incredible throughout the years. And as long as the Lanesville girls are still rolling, that's all that matters.
They now have, at least for one night, the longest active sectional championship streak in Indiana high school basketball. At 7, having won a 2A sectional for the first time, winning down at Crawford County. Bedford North Lawrence's streak, as expected, was snapped by Floyd Central. They won a girls sectional for the first time in 15 years. BNL had won one 13 years in a row, but they're under 500. They coaching changed this year. They kind of knew a reload was coming. Now, Lanesville will likely be joined by Homestead. Homestead sectional got postponed to tonight. There are about 4 or 5 sectionals up around the Fort Wayne area that simply put too much ice in terms of precipitation that came down on Saturday. So Homestead plays Huntington North tonight. And if Homestead wins as expected, Homestead then would also have won 7 consecutive sectional championships. So, yes, the Eagles are still rolling. They get to play at Charlestown on Saturday against the 2A favorite, number 1 South Knox, who in the Sagarin ratings is a top 10 team in the state. And their only 2 losses came to Hamilton Southeastern and Homestead in the Hall of Fame Classic back in December.
Well, Lanesville is heading to a regional after beating a 4A team that is heading to a regional in Floyd Central. So they beat them earlier in the
True.
season. I still can't get past that. And speaking of Floyd Central, I saw the news, man, that the boys coach suspended for the remainder of the season. Issues that were not completely disclosed. I guess it doesn't matter though, but not good news for their basketball program.
No, and I'm connected to it. Fonzo White is a very good friend of mine.
Yeah,
That was the
he's been
coach that
always
was
great to me
suspended.
as well.
You would note that he is still teaching at Floyd Central.
Right.
So you might be able to do a thing about the severity of the suspension, the fact that he is still teaching at Floyd Central for the rest of the season. Now, the story continues because Michael Miller is now the interim head coach. And, well, Michael's a friend of mine, too, because Michael was the head coach at Lanesville for 23 years. And Floyd Central went out and won their first game on Thursday night, just their fourth of the season, in beating Bedford North Lawrence by 3. Clearly, that did not go the way that I think Fonzo intended, nor the folks at Floyd Central. You know, they were solid last year, clearly took a step back this year. And, I'm not privy to all the details in the situation, but I'm friends with the former head coach and I'm friends with the current head coach. And I know that those two guys have stayed friends through this process. Fonzo will look for work elsewhere next year, and he's a good man. I wish him nothing but the best.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. And throughout the rest of this tournament season for the high schools, as the girls are in the midst of it, and the boys are getting closer to it. And then, of course, that leads us to the college tournaments coming up. And there will be a lot in Indiana again, as the is it the Final Four for the NIT here again?
Correct. So here is where you can go watch. There's not going to be a lack of options. OVC tournaments in Evansville. The Horizon League semis and finals are in Indianapolis. We get regional at Lucas Oil the same weekend as the boys high school state finals. So Friday, Sunday for NCAA regional action. And then you get the high school state finals smack dab in the middle of that. And then, yes, both the women's basketball invitational tournament and the NIT will all be held at Hinkle Fieldhouse the Monday through Thursday leading into Final Four weekend.
The basketball capital of the world is what they should just change Indianapolis to. The racing and basketball capital of the world. Yeah, get a little both.
How about
Not
sports
bad.
capital of the world? How about that? How about we just go sports capital? How about that?
I like it. They've hosted a Super Bowl. They've hosted an NBA All-Star game. I like it. They're probably going to
don't sleep on the Royal Rumble that drew 70,000 people last week too. There's that as well.
The biggest audience ever for a Royal Rumble.
Correct.
Man, Greg, we could have had a match. We could have got a tag team match. Maybe get JMV. I
would have let you play Ricky Morton, and I would have come in and made the hot tag like Robert Gibson. I had no problem doing that whatsoever.
Oh, that would have been fun, dude. When I was in high school, when we played football, we did that stuff all the time. You were young enough and you could do that to your body, but it was definitely fun. Man, go ahead, brother.
I was going to say, I hope you knew to kind of, make sure it was staged, not took, legitimate bumps. You got to brace yourself in that scenario.
Oh no, we had all that scouted out, man. All of it scouted out. Issues going on with Indiana basketball. I know it's not your coverage per se, but it's hard not to be in the know with this when it's going on. And Indiana still has 7 regular season games left before they hopefully make it into the Big Ten tournament, which they're kind of flirting with being in that bottom 3. They've got 2 tough games coming up next with Michigan State and UCLA and Purdue. So it does not get easier for this team that has lost 7 out of 8 and are now fighting to stay in the Big Ten tournament with a team that some guys may have checked out as the coach checked out. I don't know. It's not a great situation right now for Indiana.
No, and it's a move that obviously I think everybody agrees with the end result. And by doing the timing of it as you did, the main concern is now you get out in front of the head coaching hire. And so as soon as this season comes to an end, then that's, you try to pounce early and make the move And that way you hit the ground running in terms of the transfer portal and bringing in a new group. There is no such thing as continuity anymore, even for good basketball teams. Maybe at the major college level, when you're good, you frankly have the payroll to keep guys other than those that are going to, the NBA. But it's not like you just don't go. And again, this is harsh, but you can look at everybody in the room and say, hey, thanks for being here. Good luck at your next stop. And so you can flip a roster immediately with a brand new head coach. And so I've heard a lot of conversation about the short-term benefits of, hey, that muted the crowd reaction against Michigan. And that is an accurate statement. But believe me, it was done to say, let's get out in front of this. You're not coming back next year. And that way, everybody behind the scenes can be looking forward as to whom the next head coach is going to be. So that person can be hired as soon as the season is over, as quickly as possible. So that way it's all ships kind of pointing in the same direction and trying to make sure that for the first time in at least a couple hires, you get the hire right in terms of men's basketball in Bloomington.
Yeah, and I was in the post-game presser with Dusty over the weekend when Michigan was in Bloomington, and the one word I keep saying that he said a lot of words in answering questions directly to the position, and the one thing he never said no. Asked directly about interest, didn't even, just kind of skirted right around. He was very good. He was very, very good. And when asked directly about what would he tell Michigan fans, oh, I'm happy at Michigan. Oh, okay, that's nice. But he did not close the door, which I think should make Indiana fans happy, but don't get out of your skin yet, because it's a difficult decision. He's not focusing on that right now. He has 8 more games to play, and he's trying to win a Big Ten title. He's right in the mix of it. A half game back at Purdue, then the Big Ten tournament, and then the NCAA tournament. So they have a lot of basketball in front of them, and he is not going to be distracted with this stuff.
And frankly, there also has to be, and again, finances tend not to be the issue at Indiana University. The player payroll in both football and basketball, what Kurt Cignetti is making, tends to show that. But there is going to be a significant buyout if it is going to be Dusty. All right, so that does come into play. And again, it's also part of the reason why you've got 4 or 5 weeks to kind of work on this and get kind of all ducks lined up because you're going to have, depending on whom you're going after, and we could throw any of the usual suspects out, of Brad Stevens, of Dusty, of Chris Beard, of Bruce Pearl, of whomever you want to, name, part of the decision is going to be, all right, how much does it cost to get this current coach out of their contract? So that, you now have almost like this was a war room for an NFL draft board. You kind of say, all right, we need X amount for this guy, not just payroll. We need X amount for a buyout. Now you've got more time to do exactly that.
Exactly. That's why a guy like TJ Otzenberger, I think he has a really high buyout. I've been trying to go through that stuff this morning. Some of them I already know. While Dusty Mays looks to be accessible, and it is. We'll just have to see. Like you said, there's just so many things that go into it. What's up next for you, brother?
All right. So girls regional this weekend. I think I'm heading to I'm going to Greencastle for Monrovia and Park Heritage. Friday night high school hoops, Carmel and HSE, one of 3 games that we'll produce. But for me, and then Wednesday night, Oakland and IU Indy from a college basketball standpoint. Wrestling state final shows Sunday, girls semi-state pairing show coming up on Sunday. Just your average week for me.
Yeah, just nothing going on. We appreciate you as always, my friend.
Thanks, buddy.
You betcha. Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network. Make sure you're giving him a follow and being a subscriber, as always. It has been a fun day, and we're back tomorrow to do this again. We'll talk more about the basketball situation. I'll have all these names and all of the buyouts. We'll talk about all of that tomorrow. Who's really a viable candidate? Some of these guys are. Dusty May is viable. TJ Otzenberger, I don't think he is because of the numbers. But we'll go through all that. I cannot thank each and every one of you guys enough, as always. back tomorrow to do it again. Until then, I am Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.